Good morning, Steph. We start off in Peel region, where a man in his 20s has been rushed to a trauma center with critical injuries after a crash in Brampton. It happened near Boulevard Drive and Airport Road just before 9 last night. Peel police say the crash involved an ATV and a vehicle. Paramedics say a man believed to be in his 20s, the driver of the ATV, was taken to a trauma center with critical injuries. The man was reportedly not wearing a helmet. No word yet on what caused the crash. The major collision unit, though, continues to investigate. Roads are now open. Demonstrators taking to the streets in support of the movement happening in Cuba. Dozens of people at Yonge and Dundas Square last night, many carrying signs and holding the Cuban flag. They're calling for the people of Cuba to have access to vaccines and internet, as well as a complete overhaul of the country's government. The demonstrations were some of the biggest displays of anti-government sentiment seen in years in Cuba. The Cuban president is now accusing social media of manipulating the emotions and feelings of Cuba. And another discovery of unmarked graves at the site of a former residential school near Vancouver Island. The Penalacut tribe says over 160 undocumented graves were discovered at the Cooper Island Indian Residential School in the southern Gulf Islands. The facility operated between 1889 and 1975 and was run by the federal government and the Roman Catholic Church. The school was known as Canada's Alcatraz because of the remote location and documented cases of children who died trying to escape. Similar discoveries have been made this year at other sites in BC and Saskatchewan. Emotional support or assistance for those affected by the residential school system can be found at Indian Residential School Survivors Society toll-free or the 24-hour crisis line. You can also find both those numbers posted at citynews.ca. Now that Canada is receiving a steady stream of vaccines, the country will be giving away its excess supply. Canada is donating nearly 18 million extra AstraZeneca vaccines through the Global COVAX initiative. The federal government says they have a surplus of AstraZeneca doses since the majority of the shots being distributed in the country are from Pfizer and Moderna. The country had purchased 20 million AstraZeneca vaccines, but have only distributed about 3 million doses. And the World Health Organization is now warning against mixing COVID-19 vaccines and in some cases getting booster shots on their own. Its chief scientist called the trend dangerous in a briefing yesterday afternoon, saying there is little data on the potential health impacts from mixing doses, later clarifying people shouldn't make those decisions themselves, but public health agencies can based on available data. Now, local experts say early studies have shown that mixing vaccines is a safe way to get more people fully vaccinated.
Already mix and match your vaccines like many of us have already done. It's okay. The data that came out from, for example, Public Health England showed that it is promising. It looks like you're actually developing a really good immune response despite the mixing. So that's actually what was very encouraging.
Health Canada approved vaccine mixing for second doses in June. And according to the government, over 1 million Canadians opted for a mixed dose last month. Now, still ahead, Dr. Michael Warner, Medical Director of Critical Care at Michael Garron Hospital, joins us live with the latest on this and more on why hospital restrictions need to ease as second dose vaccinations ramp up. That's coming up just after 8 o'clock. A Canadian tennis favorite will not be competing at this year's Tokyo Olympics. Bianca Andreescu says she's pulling out of the Summer Games due to pandemic-related concerns. A fourth state of emergency took effect in Tokyo on Monday and will remain in place until August 22nd. The 21-year-old Mississauga native is the third Canadian tennis player to opt out of the Games, following Denis Shapovalov and Milos Raonic. Meantime, athletes from across the globe arrived at the new Olympic Village today. Strict rules are in place for the over 11,000 team members staying in the temporary housing bubble. Athletes have to go through daily COVID testing and masks are mandatory. Athletes will also not be allowed to leave the village except for training and competition purposes. The head of the Olympics, Thomas Bach, praised Tokyo's efforts to ensure a safe Summer Games.
The Japanese people can have confidence in all the efforts we are undertaking to make these games for them secure and safe with all the intensive, most strict COVID countermeasures.
Last week, organizers announced local fans would be banned from attending the Games. The Olympics start on July 23rd. Only about 28% of Japan's population has had at least one shot of a COVID-19 vaccine. Some major expansions are about to take off at Porter Airlines. 680 News senior business editor Mike Eppel is up next with the details.